just like that, after a nice, calm and relaxing bye week, we're straight back to it, straight into the mix. Yes, it is UK Cowboys TV. It's Season 2, Episode 87. The pre-game show for this weekend's game, which is against the Vikings, kick-off in the UK, 9:25 p.m. Joining us this week, we've got the David and Goliath of UK Cowboys. We've got Graham and Paul with us. And as we've advertised all week, and even the start of the week, we have the legend from the Legacy Group, a good close friend of ours and UK Cowboys. We have Mr. Barry Gipson. How you doing, sir?
Good, man. I appreciate y'all having me on, man. It's great to be on. Just happy to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
No. Pleasure's ours. And it is, in fact, the second time. So you have returned to the fold with us. Obviously, last time when you were with us, though, it was a pre-recorded, but now you're live. So this is your first live show with us.
Yeah.
Pleasure to have you with us. Yeah. Now, obviously, thanks to technology. Yeah. And as we were saying off air, during a time like this, technology has been a wonderful thing, especially with everything that's been going on in 2020. Needless to say. But, yeah.
Maybe we are 2-7.
Oh, Mike's frozen a little bit there. That is someone who's watching. Whoever's watching the show, please screenshot this right now.
Oh, Mike Poland.
It looks as though he's taking a foot. I can't believe this is live. Anyway,
I can't laugh, because my internet's been intermittent here the last couple of days. I've been dealing with my provider on that. So if I go away like that, y'all see me, freeze up. That's okay.
Yeah. Right. So while Mike's been disconnected, I'll take the front so far. So we'll start off with obviously we were just talking about the previous game there. So we lost 19-24 to the Steelers. We're now 2-7 and third in the NFC East jointly with the Giants. So that's the news from last week. But now in terms of news going forward, we've got our injury updates. So Trevor Diggs is obviously out for the season, and Tyler Bayadish with hamstrings, so he could be a couple of multiple weeks. So Joe Looney's now back in. What your guys' thoughts on it?
I mean, it's 2020. I mean, we keep losing folks. You know what I mean? It's just, we're good with who we got. It's just like chaos. It's like straight out of a movie. Like we're 2-7, and it's like we're just sitting on the back channel. It seems like it's so long since we've had a game.
Yeah, and I know I think with this bye week especially, it just kind of feels as though that. I don't know what it was, but this weekend I just felt really empty. I was like, what am I supposed to do? I don't want to watch the Giants. I don't want to watch the Eagles. They're trashy anyway. But it's like there was nothing to look forward to last weekend. It sucked, Like I know we're not doing great ourselves, but it's still our team. We still look forward to seeing our team, regardless win, lose, or draw.
It's like silly false starts and holding calls during the game. It's like that kills drives. Injuries kill the season. We have when we get a little bit of momentum on D, we end up having to change our backfield yet again. It's just fortunate we possibly get Cheeto back this week. But after such a good performance on D, and then you go and lose arguably your best cornerback, it's just 2020.
Yeah, it's been an absolute nightmare, and as you know, like it's not just us; it's suffering. There's been when you think about it across the whole league, the amount of names have been out injured. Like we had McCaffrey for the Panthers out for several weeks, Saquon Barkley for the Giants. Like the names could go on and on for all these different teams in the NFL, but for us, it seems to affect us the most, obviously, because we lost Dak for the season. How's he going to come back? All that type of stuff. We've just lost, obviously, our star rookie cornerback this season. Trevor Diggs, who's been absolutely nothing but fantastic for us. To me, who's fundamentally, I think he's been our saving grace in our defense, regardless how you see how we be performing throughout the whole season.
Yeah,
it's like he's the one that always seems to be kind of stepping up and like making these plays, like especially like the game. Yeah, as a rookie. I mean, for example, like the game against Seattle, for example. I mean, how he just managed to recover and come back and take like Metcalf's that ball from Metcalf. I mean, that was unbelievable. So, but yeah, so that's the injury report. So, like I said, Trevon Diggs broken bone. He's out for the season pretty much, and obviously Tyler Biadasz hamstring multiple weeks. So, how do you think? Like, what's your guys' thoughts on Biadasz? How he came in as a rookie? What do you think you guys have like? Do you see him going forward, like, especially you, Barry? What do you think of Biadasz like going forward in terms of like? Do you see him being like a future starter for the Cowboys O-line?
Man, I mean, the kid had a bright future, and y'all know what the NFL stands for. Not for long. I mean, just like Dak, now he's damaged goods. I mean, even as a rookie, I mean, he can still bounce back. He's still young, but I love the fire from the kid. Like I said, he was a rookie. Yep. He was kind of, like you said, the only thing we could consistently expect every week, even though he was constantly getting attacked. You know what I mean? He didn't lay down. He didn't complain. He still showed up. And then now him being out, it's just, like I said, it's just so 2020, man. We're not the only ones, finishing up, before we lost Dak. And like, I remember when we lost Blake Jarwin, in the back of my head at that time, I didn't see it posted anywhere. I was like, man, that could be Dak or Zeke.
There you go. That again, that's a non-name we've just not mentioned. I was a now player that I was really looking forward to for this season was obviously Blake Jarwin. First game of the season. He's out for the season. So
but on Biadasz, he wasn't really expected to come in and play all that much this year. I think he was taken so low in the draft because he has a work in progress, and we expected Joe Looney to step in, but to throw the kid in there and figure out the protections on that, all that kind of stuff in his first season. I know he's got a good Wisconsin background, but it was always going to be rough for him. But I think he will be a future starter for us because, quite simply, it has to be because we need to go and address the tackle position to begin with. So you can't really address tackle and centre with two top picks in the same draft. So he's going to have to be a big player for us, and hopefully he will be. Once he gets an off season, I think he'll be far.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that you mentioned that there, Graham. Again, and this is the same goes with, I think, with all rookies or pretty much nearly every player in the NFL. This off-season training camp, there's going to be players that are coming in really out of shape because they've not had the proper like facilities to attend to because of COVID, and like I've kind of been seeing it all through all the years. Like there is a little bit of leeway, but when things do get put into place where you've got that full training camp, the full OTAs, everything, it will make a big major difference, especially when we're going into year 2. So, I mean, going forward for like Biadasz, I'm really looking forward to see what he can deliver to the O-line because, like, his first initial games, he made a lot of rookie mistakes, snap counts and whatever and that. But when it comes to actually pass protection and came to the run block, especially when it came to Zach Martin's side, he really did do well in terms of the double team blocks and move it upfield. Not open up the field for like Pollard and Zeke. So, but yeah, now that Mike's back, he can now take the reign back over.
yeah, I do apologise for that. I was having, before we started the show, me and Paul were talking, I was having internet trouble then. Hopefully, this isn't an echo from it and everything's all back to normal. But yeah, catch me up. What we've been talking about, sorry, and I'll try and get us back on the rails.
We were just talking about the injury report, Trevon Diggs out, and we were just kind of covering over about Tyler Biadasz's hamstring injury and where do we see him going forward, pretty much. That's all we've covered so far.
Yeah. The other ones, mind you, on the injury report as well was Zach Martin. He was doing cord work, but he's back with the O-line group, so that's some good news as well.
That's promising.
Yeah. Randy Gregory is out with illness as well, but he's back. But apparently, it's not COVID. It's not COVID, so that's good news. The only other thing I wanted to touch on during the bye week was how lucky were the Cowboys during the bye week. The fact that Eagles and Giants game went exactly how we needed, and obviously Washington lost as well. What do you guys think of that?
The NFC least.
Yeah. NFC least. Yeah.
Hey, man, the NFC least is keeping the NFL's light bills paid because of the drama that's ensuing in this division. It's
so
only
true,
going
man.
to be right, and it's only going to be written that the Cowboys is gonna. We're gonna. I mean, just wait for it, man. It's gonna happen. We're gonna be in the playoffs. It's 2020, man. I mean, you can expect anything.
Honestly, can you imagine, like with everything going on right now, with all the injuries and stuff like that, and next thing we've got Garrett Gilbert. He'll be the starting quarterback going into the playoffs or something like that, like something crazy, something like that. You know what I mean? Like anything could happen right now.
It's going. You're gonna when we wait till the Super Bowl when we get there. I mean, we don't even know where. I mean, next year this COVID stuff they talking about. This supposed to be around too for those of us that kind of pay attention to it. So we don't know. We don't get a full off season and a traditional thing. We might that normal we knew it. Football might just go away. It might be some new shit come next year. And then to move on after that. I mean, you got to kind of think like that, but. You can imagine it now going into Super Bowl week, no matter what two teams it is, some key player is going to get COVID and it's going to matter.
Yeah, very true. Like, here's a crazy one. Is imagine come the Super Bowl, right, next year, and both quarterbacks for either team get COVID. What the hell are you going to do? How weird of a game would that look? Do you know what I mean? But before we get on to talking about the Cowboys offense versus Vikings defense, I'm going to bring up a rather controversial subject that's been in the news for the last few weeks, is people wanting the Cowboys to tank. Now, as diehard Cowboys and as head coaches and owners of a multi-billion-dollar team, do you all agree with me that tanking is not an option?
Yeah.
Tanking is not an option.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, no NFL team wants to tank, but I think that's what the narrative they're running with. I clearly think it was something before then. Y'all don't even want me to get onto that, but no, I don't think we're tanking. It's something else, though.
I don't think a lot of people understand how difficult it is to tank a season, because to tank a season, you're effectively saying, right, we're going to rebuild for the draft, right? So say presuming it's a quarterback, or say it's for a tackle, for instance, are you really going to say to your starter, yeah, we're going to tank the season? The starter in that position is going to play like he's never played before in his life. If a head coach tanks a season, is he going to risk his job being taken away from him on Black Monday after the regular season? Are owners prepared to sell tickets during a tanking season? I think a lot of the time teams are bad and they know they're bad, but they're not deliberately being bad, because it's like Barry brought up. You're not in this league for long, and if there's somebody out there who's going to take your jersey, you're going to fight for your jersey, and it's pretty difficult to tank a season when you have 53 guys fighting for their paycheck. So a lot of the time, I think this tanking is made up by the media. Do you really think Adam Gase is going to go 0-16 and expect his job to still be there in March?
Nope.
I don't think so.
Look, I'll tell you this. If you think 30,000 feet as an NFL owner, don't think all them owners ain't got together and said, man, look, we just got to ride this one out and figure it out. So figure out how to do it. And I think that's the narrative that's being ran, is the tank. But behind that is, all this stuff that's affecting the season, like injuries and, the COVID and just everything else, you know what I mean? The election and, the civil unrest, with between demographics, you know what I mean? So there's been a lot going on. I think it's a war of attrition. It's like survival of the fittest. And I think that's why Jerry ain't moving nobody really in and out. And they're trying to balance the books and save as much penny pinch as they can. Because you got to remember, they're only putting 20-something thousand folks in that seats. When I went there, the home opener, it was pretty quiet in there.
Yeah.
I
was supposed to be at that game as well. I was gutted I never managed to attend that, obviously due to COVID and stuff like that. But from seeing it from the television, man, it just looked weird.
It was different. There's no. I went around the whole stadium. I got video, so I got a recap video, but it was completely empty, man. And it was nice on one hand because you don't have to worry about fighting around a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Because you didn't have all the rest of your family there with you.
That's true.
And I mean, do you think as well? If I get your opinion on this, Bar, do you? Because it was something that popped in my head before. Do you think for a team, especially like the Cowboys, that are used to being in front of 80, 90,000 people each game without breaking a sweat, do you think that for a team like them having such small attendances affect them more?
Was that for me?
Yeah.
Oh, you were saying, I'm sorry, you said was more for what? I'm sorry.
So, like the Cowboys are used to playing in big attendances, big crowds. So, 90,000 plus. So when it comes to them playing in small attendances or no attendances, like, in SoFi Stadium, do you think that affects them more?
Well, I mean, of course it does. I mean, this plays into, the taboo here. Folks don't want to talk about politics and football, but politics and football are very much married because here at Lumen Field now, formerly CenturyLink Field, they've had no fans in the stands. And I was quite upset that I could go to Dallas and go to the home opener on a limited capacity because it's a Republican state, but in a Democrat state, I can't even go to the Cowboys, come up in here and play my, play against Seahawks. You know what I mean? So there's a lot, and that's what I say about owners and money, because you got to remember this league is big business and it affects a lot of people's pocketbooks. And when you ain't got fans and seats, they got to figure out how to flip that business model. And that's why I've been screaming that Game of Streams. You guys been following me and know what I've been talking about, that it's, why do you think Jerry did a 3-hour interview with Michael Irvin at the stadium, and then a few days later the NFL signs a deal with YouTube?
But then just lastly, and we'll get into, as I say, the offense. The final thing, bit of news that came out this week is, as of from Saturday, all 32 NFL teams are in full COVID protocol. So basically, they're in like essentially like a lockdown, which is what they do when teams, get COVID into it. But basically, it's a full lockdown. I did hear that they're opening up the Omni Hotel for the coaching staff for the Cowboys. So that's going to be where I'm guessing they're living for the next 7 weeks. Not so bad if you get bed and breakfast, mind.
It's I think it's a combination of two things. I think it's a combination of cases rising not only in the US but across the world, and also the fact that we're getting to the business end of the season now. So if you take somebody like, I don't know, say a division leader like the Bills or the Saints or Cardinals or whoever, if they have to miss a game towards the end of December because of COVID, that can play havoc with TV schedules and not getting the playoff run together, and they have to effectively think about what they're doing towards the start of January. So it only really I think it makes sense. I don't think they see from what I understand, they don't see their families an awful lot during the season anyway. You see head coaches turning up at the building, the office at like 6 o'clock in the morning, leaving 10 o'clock at night, and so on. So if we can get this season completed, I think it'll be a distraction for a lot of people, and a healthy distraction at that.
I mean, I'll say this. I'm still saying this. We're still very lucky that we've got football in general right now. We really are.
Yeah.
Like, when you really put that in that perspective, like, we're so, like, when you really do think about it, we are so lucky that we can even have the discussion talking about games. Even though we're losing, like, we've got 2 in some record, we can still actually somehow win the NFC at least. But we're still lucky that we still got football. We're so lucky, man. So lucky.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, and that's why we're still here talking about it.
Marcus just brought up a great point there. Is about the COVID prevention. I don't know if you guys remember seeing it before the season started. Like, Charlotte Jones Anderson did a video posting like all the protocols they put in place in terms of the food, Tupperware, all covered,
facial recognition.
facial recognition, the temperature checks, all that type of stuff. So they got that nailed down really, really well.
The Dallas Cowboys organization is the setup of a bubble for any NFL team right now. They got the Omni, they got the Star, they got everything. I mean, this was not something they planned like if COVID happens. I mean, just this is the business mind of the Jones family. You know what I mean? They've got all the assets they need now to create a bubble, which could essentially be the difference in one franchise in one state of one political party surviving and another one not. You know what I mean? Yeah. You got to remember, them fans, the money that them fans pay to see them athletes is the money that they pay them athletes.
Yeah.
Very true. So let's get on to the offense then, guys. Yeah, this is going to be a bit of fun. Let's start you off, guys, with the most easiest question of all. Who's starting a quarterback?
Andy Dalton.
Well,
yeah, I'm sticking you straight in the deep end. Yeah,
it is going to be Andy Dalton, but I would love to give Garrett Gilbert an crack. I would.
Yeah,
I don't know about you, Barry, but I would like from offense concern for him to come in.
It makes too much sense, man. Jerry Jones and they'd make too much sense. We don't put Andy Dalton in the lineup.
I know, but I know. It is going to be Andy Dalton, but it's just me as a preference. Like I actually quite liked what I saw from Garrett, and I thought, why not? You know?
Yeah.
Like we've got nothing to lose, essentially. Nothing to lose. We can still, obviously, the NFC at least is still up for grabs, obviously, because our division's that abysmal. But yeah, what about you, Graham?
I think they'll go with Dalton.
Yeah,
I think they'll go with Dalton. I think he brought in as the backup during the off season, $7 million in contract. Yeah, they'll go with Dalton.
Well, we're gonna see after the first series whether he gets sacked or they block for him or not.
There we go. Lauren with the comment there. Follow the money.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah. Now, one of the things that has popped up for me that was quite noticeable for this particular game is Minnesota. Their defense is actually ranked 6th worst against the pass. Now, the Cowboys, since Dak has gone down, haven't thrown for 300 yards so far. But do you think this is the kind of game where, you know, if we're talking about Andy Dalton being the starter, do you think this is the game where we're finally going to be able to see that? What do you guys think?
I mean, if the offensive line blocks for him, I mean,
true.
You know, I mean, still the same thing. You know what I mean? He's got to get out there. I mean, still Dak still leads the league. I think in a lot of. I mean, he's still leading a lot of quarterbacks that still start right now in his yardage. But I don't know. Can we get that kind of the yardage out of Dalton? There's been too much changes. I mean, the defense looks better, but I mean, Minnesota playing pretty good football right now. So you know, we got to test we tested our might against the Steelers, and it came down to a last minute play. But this is a whole nother setup. You know, this week with Dalton in now.
My concern would be is the fact that we've been growing as pretty much how many weeks in a row now we've actually went a different quarterback every game. It's the Dalton's like obviously there was the COVID protocol that he's been off for a couple of weeks. That's obviously, and also with the injury he picked up against Washington. It's like I just feel as though it's going to be a nice struggle for Andy in this game because he's coming back, trying to get back into that same rhythm again. That's the only thing I'm really concerned about.
For me, the Vikings can be exploited on defense. I watched the Monday Night Football game last night, and I saw a Nick Foles kind of carve them up a little bit, and I saw Cordell Patterson have a huge game. Now, to me, he's a special teamer. He's not a top 10 talent.
I get your point.
He don't get me wrong. He had a fantastic return. I think he's equaled the record for kind of returning touchdowns now. But the Bears don't really have a kind of connection, and they still manage to get good movement. I mean, they've got Allen Robinson, and they really don't utilize Allen Robinson. It's Nick Foles, in my opinion, that's that's holding that offense back. But they got to the Vikings. I didn't see an awful lot of Anthony Barr. I don't know if he's injured or not. But Foles had a little bit of time. I know we're not talking about their D-line yet, but with three top talents and hopefully a bit of preparation from Dalton, I think we could worry this secondary. They do have the name of the safety,
Harrison Smith.
Harrison Smith. He was a playmaker for them.
Absolute baller.
He did get a big sack on Foles, and a lot of the time they line up. They line up with good looks on D. There was one particular player I remember. They had almost 7 players on the defensive line, and 3 of them checked into coverage. So they're going to have a lot of looks for Dalton. I think that's another reason why they'll have Dalton instead of Gilbert. Just with that little bit of experience on that kind of front. So they can be exploited. A little bit of optimism.
Here's an interesting one for you. Going back to the Bears game, because it does work for our game as well. But the Bears, now one of the things I put on here is establish the run, air it out, right? Now the Bears, just so you know, are the worst rushing team in the NFL. It's so bad. You mentioned Cordarrelle Patterson. He has more kick return yards than the Bears have in total rushing yards.
Wow.
Yeah, that's an actual fact. But and it's by quite a bit too. So it just goes to show that, and they kept that game competitive. So it just goes to show that if you do have a decent rushing team, because the Cowboys are quite decent in rushing. I mean, we'll get to that in a moment. But it just goes to show that if you can hit them, because the Vikings, I feel, are very much they're very much what the Cowboys want to be, if you know what I mean. And that they're almost a mirror of each other, but the Vikings at the moment are just playing that little bit better, if that makes sense to you guys. Do you agree with that?
Nah, man, it's 2020 and anything goes. So, I mean, if we can just hold on to the ball and not get down by 2 touchdowns, I mean, yeah, all of it sounds good and looks good. But again,
if it can happen
in 2020, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't help but it's hard to argue against that.
I'm like the most optimistic Cowboy fan ever. Like I expect my team to win through and through. You know what I mean? Every game. But man, this season, it's taking a toll on the best of us.
Yeah, totally.
One of the things that I wrote last week was about giving Pollard some more touches. Now, like, what I did make sure is to say that, look, it's not about because Zeke's playing bad. At the end of the day, Zeke's our number 1 playmaker. He is the main guy. What I'm saying in respect to Pollard is more to keep Zeke fresh. Because Pollard is a change of pace back at the end of the day. He's not a bell cow, I feel. Would you think in this particular game where we're trying to establish the run to help Dalton and then to air it out, would you want to see more Pollard, Barry, or do you want them to keep trying down the Zeke road? How do you feel about that at the moment?
Well, I'm glad to see Pollard bounce back. You remember the beginning of the season, he was dropping balls and talking about turnovers, you know what I mean? But he's been getting his zip on. So I've been seeing the divide in the fan base, people saying Zeke's lost a step. He needs to go. We paid him too much money. We need to put Pollard in there. We need to trade Zeke, all this kind of crazy stuff. Look, they both on the same team. You know what I mean? And so I had done a video about this earlier in the season where Mike McCarthy had came out and they talked about running a 2-headed back there because of the talent that they have. Now, granted, this is before the Dak injury and all of that, but I mean, anything goes. I mean, if TP can get, whoever can get back there and get us some yards, let's get some points on the board. Can we just score so we can win? You know?
That's it, Barry. Like, it's like I for me, it doesn't really matter if it's Zeke or Pollard or whoever's in even the wide receiver core, whoever's starting it, like on the left or the right. As long as we put points on the board and we win, I'm happy. Like, it's got to that point now. Like, it's the whole thing about so many rushing yards and who cares? That's just personal achievements. It's not. There's no I in team.
Bring me Red Bull.
Very true.
Sorry.
There's 2 in martini, mind. And that's what I'm drinking when I'm watching the Cowboys at the moment.
It's one of the Cowboys.
Yeah. And especially in Scotland, you need to be getting on the martinis, going back into lockdown as well. I mean, lucky for us in Wales, we just come out of ours.
I didn't want to get up. I'm sorry, but I forgot y'all could hear me at the same time, so my bad. You know, shout out Red Bull. You know what I mean? Can I get a beer?
Yeah, get on it, man. I had to have a bit slack before we come on. I was starting to drift off a bit. But let's finish off then, guys, on the offensive side, talking about the wide receivers, because there is a rookie sensation in the Vikings, which we'll get to in a moment. But as they're talking about their rookie wide receiver, we're talking about ours. Now, CD Lamb is actually leading the team in receiving touchdowns. The question I've got, though, is if Dak was still, if he was still our quarterback, do you think we'd be using him as a rookie, offensive rookie of the year candidate?
Mate, just to clarify, you were asking, you were cutting out there. Were you? He's cut out again. I think he's asking what the offensive.
If Dak didn't get hurt, would he be like a MVP, rookie of the year type of deal? I'll just tell you straight out. Yeah, I drafted a kid in fantasy football, and by the way, I picked up that other kid you're talking about from Minnesota off the waiver wires. They've been keeping
Jefferson,
yeah.
But man, you know what I mean? This CD Lamb kid is a special talent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
See, like that was one of the things I was taught. Like I was. If there was before the whole draft happened, obviously initially at first I wasn't really too thrilled about the whole CD Lamb because I was fighting so much about defense because we need it. But at the time, it's like I would have thought CD Lamb would have been gone by now, and if there was a wide receiver that we would have drafted, it would have been Jefferson.
Yeah,
because he would have been within our range easily. But it turns out both the guys are they're doing really well. But if you were to give one of the players that MVP push right now, I'd still say Lamb right now, but Jefferson is getting better every game. But I think because what Mike was trying to say, because of the loss of Dak, we're not getting that same consistency that we were getting before.
Yeah, I think with the Vikings passing attack as well, it's Thielen and Jefferson and not much else. Whereas we have 2 other talents. But just to kind of go back to the MVP situation, it's like he's not a quarterback, and that's simply the reason why it's so difficult for other positions to win MVP. I mean, personally, I think the MVP this year will be Justin, the kid from the Chargers. Just Herbert. I think it'll be Herbert. Just because he's come in and started at QB so early in the season. I can't really think of another rookie that's had such a large impact in such a key position. I mean, look at who was selected around them. Kind of Ogba's not really picked up any traction this year. I can't think of anybody else that would challenge. And I don't think Lamb will make the playoffs, to be perfectly honest. So that's another reason. You expect your MVP to go into the playoffs.
So I think more or less we're talking offensive rookie of the year, kind of like what we've seen Dak and Zeke, I think, split. Because I don't know, has a rookie ever won MVP of the season?
Oh God, that's a good question. There has been before, I'm pretty sure.
I'd like to know. I mean, I've never heard of that.
I'll get that fact up right now for you guys.
Now I'm just curious, Graham, because I hear you there, and I'm like, damn, can rookies get MVPs? I'm like, it's a good question,
I mean, the only other wide receiver I was going to look at was obviously the guy I'm wearing now, Amari Cooper. Is the money that he's being paid that's really how we evaluate how much of the wallet the purse he's taken has accumulated into production. Is that worrying you at all, or is it just because of the way the season's going for you all, something that you're just not concerned about, that you're just going, it's 2020?
It's difficult to judge him on the kind of performance this season because he hasn't had Dak Prescott. I think if he had Dak, if he had a healthy Tyron Smith, if he had a serviceable defense, our offense would be so much more balanced, and you'd see an awful lot more of Amari Cooper because he's going to draw double coverage, and I wouldn't see Gilbert or Dalton in particular thrown into double coverage. You can tell they'd be taught to look for Lamb or Gallup, for instance. That's why CeeDee Lamb's doing so well. Because
Lamb in the slot, man. And put
because Cooper's drawing double coverage.
Yeah.
No, I don't think there's actually. I think Mike keeps cutting out. Right, so I've just looked up the information in regards to offensive play of the year, not rookie. But there's I don't think there's been any rookies at all that's actually won the offensive player of the year. But once Mike comes back, I'll get the ones for the defensive player once we start talking about the defense and that. But yeah, so I think that that was the last thing that Mike was trying to talk about. It was the defense, wasn't it? Yeah,
I think we're going to move on to. But just to clarify, I don't see Justin Herbert winning MVP. I thought we were talking about rookies.
I think it's more of a mixed combination of what we're doing. But for offensive MVP, yeah, I think you're right in terms of like Herbert, because it is a quarterback favored like award pretty much. But just I'm even looking at in fact, actually, even just for offensive player of the year award, there's been more running backs than quarterbacks, I believe. And let me just check. The only other position was last year. That was the first time it was never a quarterback or running back, and it was Michael Thomas last year. That's an interesting fact. That's the only wide receivers ever won the offensive MVP, but I'll get the rookie ones up in a wee second.
I mean, it's 2020, you know what I mean?
yeah. 2020, man. Absolutely.
I mean, that's kind of my mentality now. I mean, you can't, this is not a regular nothing, you know what I mean? So we can't, what we would traditionally think about how setups are and things are ran in a league that's totally changing right in front of our eyes. It's like, it's going to be a new normal. Like now with that lockdown, especially now, I mean, we expect to see more injuries. You know what I mean? Expect to see more injuries. They're not working out as much.
I mean, look at the injuries. Look at the injuries in the 49ers. The 49ers basically, they start whoever's fit at the moment, whether it be a wide receiver, running back, QB. You don't play 49ers players in fantasy because you don't know if they're going to actually make it through the warm-ups. They're hit really badly as well. And it shows in their record.
And saying that, we were exact same. It was the same with I think, was it Bayadish that injured himself during the warm-ups?
Yeah.
So, hamstring as well.
It's 2020.
Yeah, 2020, man.
Yeah, my internet is going 2020 on me at the moment. I do apologize. It's just a complete nightmare for me tonight. And like I said, I was having issues before this started, and it seems to be echoing on. But let's try and get through it and start as you mean to get on. Let's look at the fun part, the Cowboys defense. As soon as you do this, everyone starts sucking in their teeth. Just so we can get a general feeling off you, Barry, what would you say you would call the Cowboys defense this year?
2020.
I like that. I like it. That works for me.
I mean, I went and seen him. You know, I was on the, before all this stuff broke out, I was on. Everybody was on the go get Earl train. I was like, screw Earl Thomas. You know what I mean? Because I just thought he had too much baggage. Oh, by the way, you see his wife.
Yes. Thank you.
A lot of drama going on with that. He still got some entanglements over there, or with Baltimore. But when I went to the Atlanta game, man, and seen them score right in front of me the first two, I was like, man, we got to go get. I looked at West Coast. He was right down there. I said, man, we got to go get Earl, man. This is like 2020. It's not fair. It's just, the Joneses and them are just not moving a lot of pieces, man. And these guys are getting hurt. And in one sense, it's teaching them guys how to survive and be the survivors. Like you seen the attitude of Diggs come out, what I mean? And now he's injured, but I think there's some other players, tanking him. I think they'll get it together. They've kept us in some games, but it's really hard to really measure because it's 2020.
Yeah, exactly, mate.
I think there's a big case for not making moves on the team because they're keeping cap space for next year. Yeah. I think that's got a lot to do with it.
Maybe they're losing money because they don't have nobody in their their stands there. All them thousands of people now going. They got bills they got to pay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Coronavirus.
Yeah, like if they were to bring Earl in, then it's just going to be like pretty much like wasting money. Because even if you just injured as well. Does that perspective? Is that
why you think they didn't pay that? I mean, they couldn't cut no check. I mean, they ain't got any these TV deals any worked out. They just did a deal with YouTube. They're trying to figure it out behind the scenes, and then up front, everybody's just like, hold on, we just gotta, you can just get through every day and every game without an injury. Now you're winning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, there,
no, yeah. Can you hear me fine?
Yeah. All good.
Yeah. There we go. I'll just keep trying to continue on with it. I'm actually trying to do some diagnosis at the same time, so I'm running about 4 things at the same time. Yeah, trying to figure it all out.
That's your problem right there, you crazy lunatic.
No. Different. not what you're thinking. I mean, like trying to talk to my internet provider. But anyway. You don't need to know that. Now, one of the things that's quite interesting is during the Pittsburgh Steelers game, we did see the defense re-emerge. A couple of the things that did pop up was Antoine Woods and Neville Gallimore, both looking like they are solidifying the defensive line. And I always say it, the defensive line is your foundation of the house of defense, if you like.
Yeah.
How are you guys both thinking about not just Neville Gallimore and Antoine Woods? Those pair are looking great. But what about as well Tyrone Crawford? What are you guys thinking about the whole D-line as a whole starting to slowly come back up?
That's going to be one of the keys to winning on Sunday. Because going back to the Vikings Bears game, Dalvin Cook got his 96 yards, but that was down to pure workload. 30 carries they gave Dalvin Cook. And if we can make them sweat it out with the run game, that's going to be one of the keys to winning. We saw a huge emergence, like you said. We kept Connor quiet. If we can keep Cook quiet, that's another recipe for success. So if the guys can step up again, like we said in the post game, it has to be every week now. It can't just be a one-off, because if it's a one-off, we'll soon forget all about it. So if we can see another good performance out of the D-line, that will keep Cook quiet. That will mean they have to ask Cousins to do more. Asking Kirk Cousins to do more is never a good thing. So that can be another recipe. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the reason I'm bringing up the D-line is one of the things, because we know Kirk Cousins quite well from when it was back the Washington Redskins. Yeah. We know that if you get in Kirk Cousins' face and you put pressure on him, he throws some terrible balls. When he's like origami, he folds when he's under pressure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, and I don't know if it's just me, but every time it always seems to be like D-Law, it's always the one is like, I cannot wait to smash Kirk Cousins in. Like every time we do play against him, like D-Law is always the standout, regardless. Like every game we've had when Kirk Cousins is playing, D-Law is always the one who's been in his face the most. So, but when you were asking about in terms of our defensive line, like to me, it felt like watching like what we were so used to before, like the Hot Boys. Like it felt like that again. Like and I don't like I mentioned this in the post game show, and I don't know if this is one of the reasons why is because of we got rid of Poe and we got rid of Griffin, two players that clearly was bringing a negative impact of morale towards the unit. I thought personally, like because you could see it, like whenever they two were playing, it just had an overall effect on the rest of the group because they were when they were in their snaps doing what they would try to do, like get into the gaps. It just wasn't helping at all. So
I think they just didn't fit the scheme. I think they didn't fit the scheme.
There's that as well. But since we've kind of like took a more strict approach and given Gallimore the heads up and given Woods like the more heads up as well, and also when you were mentioning like Tyron Crawford, like, and this is one thing I've always loved about Tyron Crawford. He's always been a utility guy. Like, doesn't matter where in the D line you put him, if it's on like the edge or inside or heads up against the center as a nose tackle, doesn't matter. He'll still give it all. But the thing is, though, he's been using himself as more or less as a diversion, like he's trying to get the double team, so therefore that frees up, like Gallimore, frees up Woods to get to the quarterback. Like, I don't know if you guys have noticed that from the game film or stuff like that, but that's what I'm seeing quite a lot right now. It's like, because we know like Crawford has had that surgery last year. He was out pretty much all season last year, right? I think it was his hip, wasn't it?
Yes, that's right.
Right,
yeah.
So
and
exactly. That could potentially be a career-ending injury for him to come back and still play up to that high level. Yeah, that's great, but the thing with Tyron Crawford, he does have a great football mind. Like, you know, he gets himself in the right positions. He maybe not the fastest or the strongest, but he gets himself into the positions where it frees up someone else. It might free the linebacker into the A gap or B gap. And we saw that with Van Der Esch in that last game.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
Like Van Der Esch had a great game against the Steelers. Despite that be tough.
And just to get on the subject of the sticking, to the subject of the D line, do you think as well, Barry, that the narrative on DeMarcus Lawrence is over the top? Do you think it's incorrect?
He just need to stay his ass off Instagram and play. Let his play do the talking. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, PFF actually has him ranked as the third best defensive end in the league in terms of pressure and hits and sacks.
And stay off Instagram and he'll be fine.
Okay, now moving on back beyond the D line, we'll talk about the linebackers and then we'll finish up on defensive backs. So something that has come up in the news. It was in Dallas news, I think today. It was today, and they were talking about Jalen Smith. And they were saying that apparently the word in the locker room is they are evaluating Jalen Smith over these next 7 games. And that depending on his performance now, whether he stays in Dallas beyond this season.
Look, man, didn't Barry sign this guy to like a big contract this year or last year?
Yeah, I mean, he signed the big contract. I mean, they will if he's
that's been reported. That's been reported by, you know, I mean, I don't know, the Facebook streets be talking, you know what I mean? But that's some guy out there that's kind of been contrarian against the Cowboys has been reporting on that, trying to drive that narrative. From what I've read, I don't know if that's got any truth to it. But man, look, Jalen and then Jerry, they got too much money going on, man. They got too much money going on off the field, man. Jalen ain't going nowhere.
So would you want to? There we go. Lorne is putting it on you. So I
think it's not. I don't think it's Jason, but I think he is talking about Jalen.
Jalen, yeah. So I'll start with you, Barry. Would you move on from Jalen at the end of the year, or are you sticking with him? And do you think that because of the D-line,
the guys, it's 2020 and the guys performing, you know what I mean? And you know, because we're not winning now, we're talking about we might be moving on from Jalen. I mean, it's like Cowboy fans are the worst, you know what I mean? They thinking up some new shit every day, you know what I mean?
I'll be honest, buddy. This is like thing where like I never really ever post or reply to comments on anything now. This because it feels like it's an uphill battle within our own fans to get an opinion.
I don't get into conferences with them either. I do a lot of reading. I can learn from a lot.
Yeah. I read them, and sometimes it really does scramble my brain. Sometimes I'm like, what is your thought process behind your opinion here?
Argue with the stupid people on the internet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, just
I do get it. I understand people's frustrations with him because when you do see it, he's running around and you just think, just slow yourself down, think about what you're doing. And one of the things as fans that a lot of them see is they see, like in the Steelers game, that the Cowboys are on top. They're on top of them. They've just got, they're trying to take the Steelers out of the game here. And then there's a flag thrown, and it happens to be Jalen Smith that's on the end of the penalty. And I think let's not forget we got to play the refs.
Let's not forget we got to play the refs. I mean, this is an entertainment sports.
Well, my personal opinion, that was a bullshit call. That was bullshit.
It was a soft call. But I mean, what I mean is that, like, although that it was a soft call in both penalties for him, they were soft. But what I mean is that these are things that stick in the minds of people watching it when it comes to.
It's what the media drive, man. It's an entertainment business. So, you see a lot of these big networks. This has always been the beef that I had with them, and I tried to create an independent platform where we had Cowboy fans that were invested in this, that have heart for it, that want to bring you the most accurate thing because they're not going to tell you some otherwise. You know what I mean? Their heart's invested into it. But these networks, they don't care. They just drive things for views. And it's an entertainment league, you know what I mean? I hate to piss in everybody's Wheaties here, but I mean, it's just, it's 2020 and the NFL is showing itself clearly, in a lot of different aspects. But I mean, who knows? We could win the Super Bowl. We could still be in Tampa this year if we could win the NFC East, right?
I'm still in it.
Yeah,
let's go down the list with Jalen Smith, right? Will we get rid of our top tackler? No. Will we create $9.4 million in dead money? No. Did he play better once he had Van Der Esch in the lineup? Yes. So I mean, those 3 points.
Right. So there's another point as well. Like when you're talking about like the D line, they were not performing those 4 games, and this is why you're seeing all these stats for Jalen up so high because he is trying to do way too much above his own position, right? And that's why he like if his D line's not working, then the linebackers aren't going to work. Then it works in a step by step. It all works from that D line from back. So if the D line not doing their job, Jalen needs to work overtime, do pretty much 3 things at once, and obviously there's losing Van Der Esch there because there was the trust effort. There's trust in your other core members of the linebacker core as well. But whenever our D line did show up, the stats for Jalen did drop down, but you're seeing a more polished performance from Jalen. You're seeing all the right things from Jalen when the D-line were operating. He wasn't doing 2 things at once. He was sticking and doing his job. That's it.
But the thing about Cowboy fans, people just, we get rid of people and it takes years to develop people. Look at
exactly.
Like Jalen has been nothing but a plus. You know what I mean? Now, granted, he probably on getting paid. But I mean,
not just that, Barry. He actually took a very minimum, it's still a big contract, but
that's why he got paid because he negotiated with Jerry. He knows the power of the brand of the star, and like I said, they get money together.
But the thing is, but when you compare Jalen to other teams, he could easily have made so much more across some other teams. Like he actually took a team, like he was being a team player package pretty much contract. Like he could have gotten a lot more if he wanted to. He could have, and Jerry knows that. But he wanted
there's this stat as well. I've just looked up this stat. Jalen Smith is our top tackler with a combined of 89.
Correct.
Does anybody want to guess who our next tackler is?
I know it ain't Tyron Crawford.
No.
Trevon Diggs.
Trayvon Diggs with almost half 48.
Yeah.
So no team gets rid of their top tackler, no matter who he is.
Yep.
And again, that's things networks are going to talk about, and people are going to try to talk about because it's contrarian. And Cowboy fans who are uneducated or just zombies, they don't fucking know any better. You know what I mean? They're just, we need to get rid of Jalen. Like, don't argue with stupid people on the internet.
Don't forget, it was the same with. It's the same with Dak. It was the same with Dak as well. People want to get rid of Dak now. They're realizing it's like, we need Dak.
Yeah, and that is exactly what could be, especially when you think of all the other things that we need to do in the next off season to fill gaps. The last thing you want to do is have to find another, to start filling another position with a linebacker. But here's an interesting one: is that this weekend, if anything, to test our D-line and our linebacker core will be this weekend against the number one running back, Dalvin Cook. Here is the test to see
again. It's like
strong it actually is.
It's again like the Steelers were undefeated, so we're going to test ourselves against the best. And now it's like, you got this Cook kid, get cooking folks up on the field, man. So, hopefully he don't gash us too bad, and the defense can get it together over there. You know what I mean, and stop them. So
I'm going to summarize what the whole defense and offense needs to do this weekend. Rise up. I know it's taking a slogan from the Falcons, but every player needs to rise up to the occasion.
And look, their offensive line is playing quite well as well. Their offensive line is doing the zone blocking scheme to perfection, which works for Dalvin Cook. Just to put that into perspective, in the last 3 games with Dalvin Cook, he's run for 465 yards and 6 touchdowns.
The dude is small, and it's like an Alvin Kamara, man. They're eating folks up, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And don't forget as well, they've got their Tony Pollard as well with Alexander Mattison behind them.
That's right, yep.
So
Cousins got some weapons. He got Thielen. You got the Jefferson kid we didn't even really talk about. I've been eating off of in fantasy. That kid's is clocking in. You know what I mean? And then you got, Cook, the backup guy. I mean, he's got plenty of weapons over there. So, again.
And their O-line is pretty good as well.
Their O-line is great.
It'll be another testing week for us.
Yeah. Right. So here's what I'm going to ask you, and we'll ask everybody watching as well at home, is what do you think the final score is going to be? Now, I'm going to go first. So it gives you all some time to think this over, and then I'll let the guest be the first to take the first honors. I'm going Cowboys win 27-23. So that's my score. What are you going for, Barry?
I don't know, man. We ain't scored too many touchdowns in the last few weeks. I don't know about 27, but I think maybe a 17-14 Minnesota. You know what I mean? I don't know. You know what I mean? Dallas by 3. I mean, can Greg the Leg pull it out? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Graham, what have you got for us?
Yeah, Barry kind of stole my thunder a little bit. I agree with that. I don't see where our touchdowns are coming from, but I think our D will keep us in the game. Cook got his yards because of his workload last week, and I think if we can keep Cook off balance and ask Cousins to do more, there's every chance we could win this game. Regular listeners to the show will know that I've been down on the team. I predicted a couple of L's. This week I'm going to go for the W. I'm going to say along the line. It's going to be tight. Let's not get carried away. It's going to be tight, but I'm going to agree with Barry. 17-14 Cowboys.
What's the spread in Vegas?
That'll tell us everything. I'll check that for you now while we do the next. Yeah, give me your thoughts.
I'm gonna go absolutely bonkers here. I'm gonna say 31-21 Cowboys.
Oh, man. I hope so, man, because I got Zeke and Lamb in my fantasy lineup, and I know they're gonna get some touchdowns on some of y'all.
I think
that's what I'm saying. Right, that's what I'm saying. I'm being optimistic, man. I am always going to be optimistic, regardless.
Well, you made a nice little segue for us there, talking of having guys in your fantasy. We're going to move on to our final section, the fantasy
Gary, look what Gary just said.
Oh,
He said overtime.
Going for an
was
OT.
calling it within 3, so it's going to be close.
So you're really where Gary just raised the ante with his prediction there, an overtime score. Wow.
An overtime. I like that, actually. I do like that.
Is it a primetime game? What time is it? Primetime?
Yeah, it's a 9:25. So
and Lloyd coming in 21-13.
Yeah, I like that.
It's a fair argument, Lloyd. Fair argument. Big shout out to Big Wheel.
Yeah, the Big Wheel. He's in the house. But okay, let's do our fantasy section, and then we'll let you go, Barry, because I know you've got other things to be getting on with. So this is quite simple. All I'm going to do is I'm going to give you guys what the players projected to score by NFL.com's fantasy app, and then you tell me whether they're going to score more or less. So if you're going to score more than what they projected, give me a boy, oh boy. If this is going to score less, oh boy. All right, it's as easy as that. Now, who wants to go first? Should we give the guest the first honors?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right then, Barry. Kirk Cousins. Right, you can start us off with Kirk Cousins. He's projected to score 17 fantasy points. Boy, oh boy, or oh boy?
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Ooh.
Down.
Less than that.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna. Who am I gonna be nasty to? Okay. Paul, Andy Dalton, 15 fantasy points.
Yeah, that's in the middle.
Yeah.
You know what? For the benefit of doubt, based on my prediction, which is, I'm gonna say boy oh boy for the shits and giggles.
You have to. You predicted 31 points on offense.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, boy oh boy. Andy Dalton's gonna score 35 points, man. Fuck it.
All right, then. I'm going to give you Ezekiel Elliott then, Gray. 14 fantasy points.
The NFL app, the NFL fantasy app, lets you, basically work it out.
Optimize.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, and I found that it's actually moved Zeke onto my bench a few times. Have you found that as well? Yeah, unbelievable. I think that's crazy.
Zeke get yards and then 3 fumbles, and you're like negative. You're like,
boy oh boy.
Okay.
Boy oh boy, because I think that's going to be with Dalton coming back in. If we can get Zeke going, that's going to be the key on offense.
Yeah.
Keeping Dalvin Cook on the sideline.
Right, so because you said you've got him on your fantasy team, Barry, I'm going to give you CeeDee Lamb. He's going to score 12 fantasy points.
Well, if some of them predictions y'all said about them guys scoring touchdowns, he's going to get them. So, I mean, I'm going to say boy oh boy, because anybody lining him up in the slot, you know what I mean? I think he should be able to eat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The TD's half your points straight away without any yardage.
I mean, when you think about it, it's like 60 yards and a touchdown, and that's 12 points already. So
get the CDs, get the TDs, baby. You know what I mean?
Getting the TDs, man. All right, then, Paul, you've got Dalvin Cook. 20 fantasy points.
Oh,
that's a huge score.
Wow.
That's
for a running back, that's really big.
But don't forget, Dalvin Cook can also receive the ball. He's not bad at catching the ball out in the backfield.
Yeah, he's a stud.
You know what? I'm gonna trust the faith in our D-line this week. I'm gonna trust the faith in them. I think it's gonna be oh boy.
Oh boy, less than. All right, then.
Summing up this Dallas Cowboy defense on the UK Cowboy fans. You know what I mean?
They kept Connor quiet.
I'm telling you, man. Yeah. Boy, Anton Woods. I think he's gonna ball this game. I think he is fired up now.
And Neville Gallimore coming up in the ranks and doing his thing. Randy Gregory as well. Don't forget, if he's in the game, he's great at stopping. He can. He's great at setting the edge, just as much as Demarcus Lawrence. Rightio. Let's give you Jefferson then. I'll give you. You can have Jefferson. Great. He's going to score 18 fantasy points. What the?
Oh, wow.
Boy, man. That kid been eating. I got him on my lineup, man. I've been watching. I drafted him and I had him on my bench one week. He got like 30 points. I was like, who is this kid? True story.
Go on.
Yeah. Boy, oh boy.
Boy, oh boy.
Yeah.
It's a hard one, man. I've been eating every game.
Yeah. Just with the loss of
Diggs.
With the loss of Diggs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't forget, I'll put these results up after the game with people's predictions. Right. Am I going to be nice or not? Hold on. When we got you, we got Paul there. Okay. I'm just making sure I got enough going around. Right. Let's give you Dalton Schultz, Barry, with 9 fantasy points.
Man, I don't know with Dalton coming back and if they're not going to block for him, but I mean, if y'all saying all these points are going to get scored, Dalton could probably squeak in there too. That's a tight one. I'm gonna have to say, oh boy, you know what I mean? Dalton being in there, I just don't foresee it against Minnesota for some reason.
We say that a lot, Barry. It's tough for tight ends. I mean, in fantasy, tight ends is a kind of wasteland if you don't get like somebody from the Chiefs or the 49ers or so on.
He's been there.
Okay. Right. Who am I going to be nasty to this time? Okay. Paul, Cowboys defense, 6 fantasy points.
I've been playing with them all season.
I've had them in my lineup a few times.
Mike, you asshole. I'm going to restore the faith in Matt. Like I said, I think they're starting to find their feet again. And with Gallimore right in the starting lineup now, and with Andrich back in that, I'm going to say boy, oh boy.
Yeah, alrighty.
Kirk Cousins loves an interception.
Yeah,
he likes an interception.
Exactly.
Jalen Smith with an interception in a row.
Pick 6.
What the haters?
Oh my God! Did you imagine that?
Or a fumble, take it back to the house.
Every one of us will be like Emperor Palpatine type of Star Wars is like, let the hate flow.
All right, great. And then you can finish us off here with the Vikings defense. Great. They are also 6 fantasy points.
You're not going to lose any. I mean, if you say boy, oh boy, I'm not going to be mad at you, man.
I'm going to say
that's a comment of the show.
I mean, it's 2020, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a tough one, though.
It's a tough one because
I will say boy, oh boy. I will say that.
Yeah, that's
boy, oh boy. Yeah.
I mean, it's just
6 is low. I mean, they start off at kickoff. They're at 10. So
But I think it'll be like a 10 point, 11 points, depending what they do. But I think it'll be roughly about that points range.
Yeah.
Just hope there ain't no turnovers that lead to points like a pick 6 or something like that. Because we get down there, get pinned. You know what I mean? You got to remember our O-line. You know what I mean? Them guys gonna be coming because they're like, oh, Dalton, they're just like we're gonna make them beat us. Just send everybody every down. I mean,
yeah. You can't get away from our tackles situation, you know.
Yeah.
So
that's why I wouldn't be mad at
yeah. But that, mate, is we've gone over the hour that I said we were going to be, mostly because my internet decided to pull the brakes on the show a few times, but I apologize. But it has been a pleasure for you to be here and be with us again. I don't know if anyone mentioned it while I was off disappearing because of my internet. Like a lot of people know what Official America's team do and what you do, what they see, but what people don't know is the behind the scenes stuff. And as I was saying that, in terms of creators, you probably do the most for other people, like ourselves, everybody. You do probably the most out there for others. And I just want to let people know that you're always back there. Yeah, doing the articles, writing things up, talking about everybody else. And you probably do the hardest work in that respect.
Yeah, I mean, it just keeps me sane. You know what I mean? It gives me something to do. I mean, because we're all sitting at home and thankful, you know, we got this here and I've got this set up and we could all sit here and talk, you know what I mean? Because I mean, without that, think about it. There's a lot of folks, you know what I mean, especially veterans. I know you said you served over there too in the UK. You know what I mean? It's November. It's the Salute the Service month and campaign for the NFL. And suicide is at all-time high among the veterans. And as they're out there paying the dues, you know, we're just trying to raise the awareness on that. You know, there's isolated folks out there in this quarantine. We were talking, you know, prior to the show about, you know, Paul being, you know, clocked down over there, you know, as tough as it is. But you know, everywhere there's folks that are just scared to go out of their house. Like there's some real serious fear out there, along with the reality of what's happening. But at the same time, the isolation, you know what I mean? I just encourage everybody to reach out and talk to your veterans. You know what I mean? Call on some folks you haven't talked to in a while. Don't rely on a text message or direct message. You know what I mean? I know, Mike, you know, you always clock in with me and check on me, and I appreciate that. You're always, hey, how you doing, brother? You know what I mean? Stuff like that. I know you're in the UK, so we got a time difference there, but pick up the phone and call somebody. It's the holiday season, and that's really the toughest time of the year for us veterans.
Yeah, and what is crazy as well, talking of that, I know it's slightly off topic, but within that, what you're saying, you're in the UK in ex-veterans, ex-forces veterans, homelessness for them is on the rise. It's massive. And they don't understand why. They can't figure it out. Why so many veterans at the moment in the UK? I don't know if it's the same in the States. I imagine it would be.
Yeah, we have a homeless thing that they've been addressing by building, you know, homeless veterans homes, getting them access, and you know that's, you know, speaking of creations, you know, me and Bob Riley, I don't know if you guys know him, the cannabis cowboy.
Yeah.
Have the cannabis over there. We talked about that prior to that, but we've launched a show called Square Groupers where we're trying to network with folks the traditional OAT way and just share information among everybody in the quarantine online as this new, you know, administration comes in, if that's the case, and then, you know, what laws may change because a lot of states have legalized here in the United States as then. So we're trying to get that out because it's mainly an alternative, because not just here in America, but also over there in the UK, I know you guys face an opioid crisis. You know what I mean? There's not much alternatives out there for healing and mental health. And so we're just trying to get that discussion going and create some awareness around there, get some folks taking some action. So I appreciate you bringing that up. Thanks, Mike.
No. But we appreciate you coming on the show. Like I was saying, and like you say, we're always talking and in communication. But one thing that always pops up in the off season is you writing out articles about UK Cowboys and waving the flag for us and awareness about us, and so that I can't thank you enough. You know, it's not just that; it's everybody else. Everybody else, you do it for everybody.
Thank you. I just couldn't believe there were that many Cowboy fans over there. I think it was around 16.
Oh, you'd be very surprised, my friend. That's just why we're the world's team and not just America's team.
Exactly. I got on Skype with Jamie and Lauren over there, and you know, we talked that and added them. They're part of the, you know, the Cowboys directory I got on my site at officialamericasteam.com. So we're networking. We were hoping that we were going to get a game over there. Man, that looks like.
I know. As Strikers, we tried to do the campaign a couple of years ago for the whole NFL London, try and get the Cowboys to come back to London again. We tried to do the whole hashtag campaign, but unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be for us that year or the next year. So, but hopefully, once the NFL London games can start going again, we can start getting those campaigns going again.
And when the Cowboys come to London, it'll be Official America's Team live from London.
Man, I could hold that.
Yeah.
We're live from OAT in the UK, baby.
We've got to get that. We will get that done. We will get it.
If we'd have got that game over there, we would have been there, man. Me and West Coast was already saying, like, we were talking way before then, like, let's create a campaign. Like, we seen it.
That's right.
We could ride this and make it happen and get over there. It was going to be amazing. But now with, all that's going on, man, it looks like it's in a whole nother galaxy now,
Yeah.
Barry,
yeah.
I could just picture you right now outside Buckingham Palace, live outside the Buckingham Palace. Wait till you hear live with a coffee.
Yeah. But like West Coast was that excited. He was asking if you could stay in my spare bedroom.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, I'm not there to go to sleep anyway. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Sleep when you're dead. Sleep when you're dead.
Yeah.
As they say, sleep on the plane. But yeah, and a final shout then is just obviously to our sponsor, which is Cowboys Experience. If you're going to a game next year, and we do have Barry Griffiths, so we've got Barry Gipson this week and Barry Griffiths next week from Cowboys Experience. Make sure you book it through Cowboys Experience. They've got tailgate parties, game day tickets, and stadium tours. Make sure you use the booking code UK Cowboys to get a little bit extra in it. But this week, go on.
Also, our show next week is not on a regular.
Yes, good point. Yeah. Go on then. You take it away.
Yeah.
It's on a Wednesday.
So we're not doing a Tuesday show. We're doing a combination show of a pre-game, post-game on a Wednesday because of the Thanksgiving game. So be sure to tune in. Same time as usual, but it'll be on Wednesday this week. So for the Thanksgiving special, so we're going to do a post-game and the pre-game all in one show for, I think it's a 2-hour special we're going to be doing it for.
Yeah. However long it takes, it don't matter.
However long it takes. So, and also, like Mike just mentioned, our sponsor, Barry Gipson of Cowboys Experience, is going to be in the show. It's going to be a good fun. So be sure to tune in, folks.
Yeah, Barry Griffin. I know Barry. I've met Barry Griffin a few years back at the Experience. That's actually where I met Jalen Smith at first time. Yeah. So shout out to
that's who we got. And I told him you were coming on the show, and he said to say hi. So, no, it should be a lot of fun. But that is this week. Thank you very much again, Barry, for coming on. But from myself, from Paul, from Graham, and from Barry Griffiths, that is UK Cowboys TV. And we will see you on the other side, guys. Have a great weekend.
See you later, guys.
See you next time.